Hey everyone, today we are going to discuss guesstimates and how to solve them. And within guesstimates, actually the most important category is market sizing. These are the type of questions that are mostly asked in your interviews, and these are the very first questions that are being asked in the interview as well. Hey guys, I am Nipun Vijay. I am a product analyst. I have more than 4+ years of experience. I have given more than 50 plus interviews, have cracked many of them. In past, I've worked with three different startups, and this is my way of, in general, helping you guys out with the guesstimates and how I created my own approach to solve each and every guesstimate that comes later into this slide. Okay, let's start. So, first of all, what are market sizing estimates? These are the these are the type of estimates where you are basically asked to calculate the whole addressable market. This total addressable market means, let's take it via example. So, for example, let's say you are being asked estimate the total number of smartwatches, right? So, what you need to guess is if I combine all the different smartwatches companies that we have, let's say Apple, you have Noise, you have Boat, you have all these companies. If you combine all of them, then what is the overall market that you will have, right? So this is the total addressable market, and this is what we are trying to gauge over here through these questions. So and next one is one can estimate these market sizing estimates either in terms of units or in terms of revenue. I can either say there are 10 smartwatches or 10 smartwatches worth 1 lakh rupees. Okay, so this is a difference. One needs to clarify or ask beforehand before starting these guesstimates itself that either you want to go after units or revenue. Okay, so few of these examples are estimate the market size of bottles in India, market size of burgers in Bangalore. This can be framed in n number of ways. For example, estimate the number of burgers people eat in Bangalore every day. Okay, so this is how this question can be voiced. Next is the estimate the total number of smartwatches, right? So basically, what exactly is the interviewer looking for here? So there are four things that the interviewer is actually looking for, and it directly combines what you are going to do in your real-time job as well. So first is your plan of action. When given a question, these are really vague questions, right? So when given these vague questions, what is your plan of action? How are you going to solve it? What is your approach like, right? You must have heard this a lot of times that it is not the answer, it's the approach. So that's what they are interested in. First is your plan of action. Next, how do you convert this plan of action into your math ability? How quick you are with numbers, how good you are with these estimates, so to say. Okay. Next, when you have got these numbers, how do you now interpret it? Okay. And once you have interpreted it, how do you communicate it? So, in a nutshell, basically, if given any question, let's say even in your real-time job, you are asked, okay, uh, that help us identify which is our best performing cohort. So, you need to devise some strategy, you need to do some number crunching, that you then you need to create some metrics basis which you will interpret the results. For example, for an e-commerce brand, it could be like, okay, these users ordered the most number of items or the most valuable items, right? It could be any metric. And then you basically communicate it to your team, to your manager, to the wider segment in the company. So one needs to have all of these ability and one can basically judge it via guesstimates. And hence this is what interviewer is actually looking for. So how do we go about these market sizing guesstimates? So it has a simple approach, top to down approach, which is simply, for example, if I take this example of smartwatches, you start from the total population and then you work your way down towards smartwatch holders, right? So it's smartphone, Two, you basically categorize it by income. You take some behavior into aspect, and then you finally have your smartwatches. So, for example, you start with the total population, and then you say, okay, these age people will be more attracted towards smartwatches. This sect of income would have more disposable income to even buy or consider having smartwatches, and then finally buying it. Okay, so this is how. So this is like a simplest approach what I have created. Now, this is my own approach that I have been using for years. It is called clear approach because it clearly gives you the answer, right? It constitutes of five parts: CLEAR. Let's cover each one of them one by one. Let's start with C. You first want to clarify. Okay. So by clarify, I mean you first need to clarify the question itself. So, for example, let's take a simple example: estimate the total number of smartwatches. So, what you would want to do is you would want to fill in the gaps of whatever is missing. So, estimate the number of smartwatches. Okay, uh, just say, what do you mean by smartwatch? What geography do you mean? Is it India? Okay. When we say estimate market size, is it annually? Right? So that is one. Now, first thing, you would want to state the fact, then rather asking it. What do we mean here? So basically, you should frame the question yourself, wherein you are actually saying to the interviewer that, okay, I am going to estimate it annually, and I am going to do it for India. And if they basically come back, okay, no, 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 do it for the whole world, then do it for the whole world. But you would want to make it easy in the very first place for yourself. And hence, you basically state. And to state, you need to assume, and to assume you need to ask, right? So second would be, now we have rephrased the problem, and third and final tip would be to lead the conversation. You want to lead these conversations with guesstimates specifically, since it is just a 5 minute sort of, right? You don't want to go above 5 minutes, or interviewer would think that you are somewhat slow. If these are simple estimates, it should not take you more than 5 minutes, right? So what you want to do is lead the conversation, and you lead the conversation by stating, okay, these are the things that I'm going to do, these are the things that I'm going to estimate, these are the assumptions that I'm going to take, and providing some clarity over there as well, and hence you clarify. Second is L for layout. Now, this will basically help you in the plan of action part, which is basically you create a layout on how you are going to solve it. So, one is a tree approach, one is a table approach. So, a tree approach is simple. For example, let's say in estimating the number of smartwatches, you start from the total population, and then you say, okay, certain income and certain age category people would have a smartphone. So I have now estimated smartphone, and of these people, certain income and certain age people will buy smartwatch. So basically, you have simply taken a tree out of it, right? And another approach would be a table approach, tabular approach, wherein there is a good amount of contribution from different categories. For example, uh, let's say if you want to estimate again, let's take a approach for smartwatches itself. You want to make it complex. So what you will do is you will divide the people basis their income categorization: low, medium, high, ultra high, right? And then within each category, you will then take estimations. Final tip, it should be MISI. MISI stands for mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive. Mutually exclusive, for example, 0 to 18 age, 18 to 30, 30 and 30 plus. So these are exclusive. A person can lie only in one of the segment of these uh, tables, right? and these are collectively exhaustive, that it covers my whole population in it. So that's what how you want to create your sects. Similarly with income, or let's say region, northwest, south, east. Okay, so you are basically dividing each and every of the state into one of these categories, and all of them makes up to India. Next is E is estimations. Over here now, once we have created our tree structure or tabular structure, we will simply take estimates over here. For example, okay, 30% of these people will buy, 20% of these people will buy, 15% of these people will convert into buying, or one person, one product being bought in a year. So you are taking all the different type of estimates, simply writing it down in your paper wherever you are solving, and this is what this step means. So first, you need to have some reasoning for your assumptions. You can't take any random assumptions, because that's what you are going to state to your interviewer as well. So hence you need to have some reasoning. You need to choose simple numbers and logical numbers. Say numbers like 10%, 20%, 90%. Don't take 83%. Okay. And finally, you would want to tie your assumptions, whatever you are taking, to some known fact or any benchmark. For example, uh, let's say we are talking about smartwatch category. Okay, so we know that people who have higher income would have higher disposable income, and they will buy more number of watches, right? Compared to people who are poor or on the lower end of the income category, right? So basically, we are stating these assumptions basis some facts. So I will say, okay, that 50% of the rich people will have smartwatches, compared to only, let's say, 5% of the poor people will have smartwatch. Or you can actually disregard the whole category itself if you are doing simple guesstimates. Final is A, approximate. Uh, Over here, now we will start multiplying, adding all our numbers to arrive at our final answer. So always go in the order. Start from the top, go towards the bottom, and start your calculations again from the top, go towards the bottom. You want to round the numbers to simplify your calculations. You don't want to be stuck with 529 divided by 3.5. Okay, simplify these calculations. 529 say 500, 3.5 say 4. Okay, and simply round up or round down. What I mean by that is, let's say we are taking a lot of approximations over here. So if you are rounding up one, then you would want to round down the other. So for example, let's say if it is 18%, I round it up to 20%. Then the next time 18% comes, I'll round it down to 15%, something like that. And then finally we review. So it's always a good habit to review your calculations, so that you are actually not off by a margin if there are any calculation mistakes, because again it's a time packed session. It's a simple 5 minute session that you are doing with the interviewer. You are throwing out numbers again and again, you are doing the maths, you are communicating. It can happen that you make a mistake, and hence the review part is really, really necessary. How to review? Okay, so first, it starts when you start solving the guesstimate itself. So when you start solving, make clean and easy to read calculations. Okay, it will be easy for you, it will be easy for you to follow, it will be easy for you to make any changes in future if you think so. Second, for large numbers, use 10 to the power of n. Okay, you are saying if 1.4 billion, say basically 1.4 into 10 to the power of 9, right? And finally, when you have these answers ready, final, do ask yourself, is it reasonable? Okay, a good hack, a good tip over here is, just see around yourself. For example, let's say if you are estimating number of cars in Delhi, okay, just see how many of your friends got car. What is your group size? Okay, so you have got 10 friends, two of them have car, so that's like 1 in 5. And just see what are your characteristics like. Are you in the high income category, middle income category? What is your age like, right? And then you can sort of get an estimate of how are your number compared to the final numbers that you have calculated, right? So just have a sense check over there. So that makes up your finally clear approach. You start with clarifying your problem, you lead the conversation, you create the layout, you tell them, okay, this is how I am going to solve it. I will create this tree or a table, and then I'll finally do estimates where I will state my assumptions. I will have some explanation around it. Then finally, I'll do the calculations in the approximate part, and then finally, I'll review my calculations, and that's make my approach clear. Okay, so we'll do a simple example following this approach. Let's say estimate the market size of sports bottles in India. Okay, so first we'll start with clarification. So I'll say estimate the annual market size of sports bottles in India in INR. So what I mean is basically I'm calculating the revenue over here. Remember, we can either calculate both revenue or the units, right? So over here I just mentioned revenue. If the interviewer thinks, so okay, no, units is fine, then okay, we will just simply rephrase this and say the total number of units of sports bottle. Okay, so what are these assumptions that I've taken? Basically, I have taken the time frame to be yearly. I am estimating the revenue, and we will also define our sports bottle to be reusable bottles primarily used for sports or fitness purposes, things like that. Okay. Next, let's create the layout. So this is my layout. So basically, I start with the total population. I apply cuts of rural, urban, or age categorization, and within it, then I have my people who are enthusiastic about sports. Of these people, some of them will buy sports bottle, and final would be how many number of bottles do they buy in a year. Okay, so if you see, I have basically done a population segmentation of urban and rural given my target audience. I have done a behavior sort of categorization basis basically by age, since people who are younger are more attracted towards sports. This will be my assumption that will come later into the next part. I am taking also bottles per year, which is like an average purchase. And finally, when we are calculating, we will also consider price per bottle. So this is a layout, a simple tree type of layout that I have taken. It also has different segmentations. So over here, a tabular approach would basically work for us, which we will see in the next part of it. So now estimate. So see, now I have started estimating. So urban is 35% of the population. Less than 18 people are 25%. Sports enthusiast would be, let's say, some roughly 15% of it. So this 15% number, how do I come up with that number? So while I was in my class, we had a class of approximately 50 people, of which in every class 10 to 15 people or more like 5 to 10 people actually used to be in some form of sports, be it either basketball, be it either uh, cricket, whatsoever, right? So if I take average of all the different classes, I would consider this number to be approximately 15%, right? And similarly, with age, this number decreases less and lesser number of. So this is again my assumption. I am taking it. Interviewer can question me about it, and that's why I need to have some analogy behind it. And then next is have sports bottle. So now people who are younger, like I imagine myself, I used to have those plastic bottles, right? Uh, Whereas we are considering sports bottles over here which are reusable, right? So people who are going to gym are usually like above 18, and so these are the type of people who are actually buying it, not people who are less than 18, right? So that's why hence larger percentage of these people would have these sports bottles, but in general these people are less. Okay, so that's the difference. Now let's do the calculation part. So I have done calculations on a rough sheet itself, so as to show as to how exactly I would have solved this in the interview as well. So we start from the top. Total population 1.4 billion. Urban is 35%, roughly 500 million. Okay, this is the first approximation I have take. I am not calculating exactly 500 million. It's a good round number. It is roughly around what this number would have been. Okay, I guess that would have been something like 480, 490 million. That's it, right? So 500 million is a good approximation. Now, first categorization that we are doing over here is basis age. So less than 18, 18 to 30, 30 plus. Again, see, it's a MECE. All these three columns are mutually exclusive. Okay, a person can either be less than 18 or between 18 30 or 30 plus. Okay, and it is exhaustive as well. All three of them are collectively exhaustive, that they cover 100% of the total market. So now the population in each one of them would be 125, 125, and 250. Next would be how many of these people are sports enthusiasts. We have already calculated these numbers: 15%, 10%, 8%. Now we will simply take the guesstimation, estimates, approximates. So 12.5 ka 15%. So 12 ka 15% ले लो, 18 million, right? Easier. 125 million ka 10%, 12.5. But I don't want to go into point, right? Decimal. So I will simply write it 12 million. And 250 million ka 8%. 8% is what? 8 by 100, and we have 4 by 50. So right, 20 million. So you have to be really quick with your maths over here. Next, have sports bottles. See, I've taken good round numbers: 30%, 40%, 50%. So it will make your calculations even better. As you can see over here, 18%, 18 million का 30% would be 5.4 million. First of all, मैंने decimal हटा दिया, इसको round down कर दिया. Whereas 12 million का 40% is 4.8 million, इसको round up कर दिया. 5 million each हो गया. टोटल आंसर मेरा केवल 0.2 मिलियन से इधर उधर हुआ, which is fine, right? And then finally उसका 10 million. Then bottles per year, again 0.5, 0.751. So uh, our final answer comes down to be, and then we have also taken the cost of each of these bottles, 250, 350, 400. Simplest basically idea over here is people with a better age have higher disposable income, and hence would buy much better bottles, right? And that comes out our revenue to be 5.5 billion. In the similar fashion, actually you can do it for any guesstimates that we have. What I would want you guys to do is take these as examples, as to estimate the this we did, estimate the market size of burgers in Bangalore. You can do it in terms of units or revenue, or estimate the number of smartwatches. Comment down below what would be using this clear approach. How would you clarify it? What would be your layout? And what is your final answer? And then we can discuss if you are on the right path. Thank you, guys.